Come back from that break. Now, onto our next conversation. This is a conversation that business owners and everyone who wants to be self-reliant should want to hear. I have in the studio Barrister Goodness Ajinomo, and we're going to be talking company and business registration. Welcome on the program, Barrister Goodness Ajinomo.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Good to have you here.
Good to.
Okay. So we're talking company and business registration.
Yeah.
Now, the first question that would come to one's mind, let's say I'm an entrepreneur and I have my little business somewhere, and I'm like, this business is my own, like my idea, I started it with my money. Why should I register it anywhere? It's my own. If any registration needs to be done, shouldn't it be with me? Like, why is it, what is company registration all about, and why should I start or register my little company?
Okay, thank you once more. Let me start by saying that laws are territorially bounded. There's an orientation to laws. So in every place you are, there are certain rules and regulations, and you have to obey. You have to adhere. For instance, now, the COVID-19 protocol, we have to adhere to those protocols because we are in a city, we are in a nation, we're in a country that is governed by laws. So also, is it with registering businesses? You're operating a business in a particular locality that is governed by law. So you have to follow the laid down prescription by the law, of course, the laws of the land. So you cannot just start a business without following the legal requirements. So there are legal requirements for running businesses, even though the business is yours. But you are running the business in a country that is governed by laws like Nigeria. So you have to follow the law. So first off, a business registration, it depends on the kind. Well, but all kinds of businesses are registrable by the law of the land, which is the CAMA, Companies and Allied Matters Act. It makes provision for different kinds of businesses, from sole proprietorships to partnerships and incorporated companies. So for individual kinds of companies, which is the sole proprietorships, they register business names. Now, you cannot by law just start a business name without thinking about registration, unless you want to be irregular or you want to run a business illegally. Before now, one could start a business and then say, oh, I will not register and all of that. But right now, based on the provisions of the law, particularly the CAMA 2020, every business must be registered. You have a 28-day period.
No matter how little?
No matter how little. The business name is the list of businesses. That's the sole proprietorships kinds of businesses. So you have to follow that particular guideline. You can't operate for more than 28 days without registering. So you have like a 28 days window to commence the business, but you have to register. But now the incidence of registration gives you more benefit than losses. That's one thing many people don't know. You have more advantages for registering than you have for the loss of probably having to hire a lawyer and to pay for the registration fee and all of that. For instance, there are a number of them. I don't know if I'm going ahead of you.
No.
For instance, number one, you have an authorized certificate, of course. Every kind of business registered under CAMA, you have an authorized certificate. That certificate gives you some form of credence, a reputation with customers. So if you're running a business and it's not, you don't have a certificate evidencing the proper business, showing that this is an identified business by the law, people don't really take you seriously, actually. It also gives you access to government grants, loans, and whatever. Because people can apply for, and you have to get qualified. They will ask you for your certificate of registration before you are considered for a grant, for a loan, or whatever. Number three, very importantly, is that the business, people will be able to put in their resources. People don't plunge in resources into businesses that are non-existent. Because if you're not registered, you probably are not existing. So people are able, they have the confidence in your brand. You also have a perpetual succession and a common seal. For instance, there's something called the idea of legal personality. Every business has to become a legal person in law so that you can sue or be sued in your name. Yes. There are others actually, but let me stop here.
That sounds like a lot. Okay, so now that I have to, we all know if we have a business, we have to register.
Yes.
Where should we register? And when I'm going to register, what should I just go and say I want to register? Do I need to pay?
Okay. Well, for instance, let's say you want to register a business. what we advise, what's advised is that you get a solicitor, because solicitors as legal practitioners are the ones who have been trained to handle registrations. For instance, under CAMA we have accredited agents, which are legal practitioners or chartered secretaries or chartered accountants. These are persons that can be accredited by the CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, to handle your registration. So it's best that you get a legal practitioner, for instance, so that you can be guided. Actually, based on the provisions of CAMA, an individual with a business name, you can register on the portal, CAC portal. You can just go online, sign up on the portal as an authorized representative and register your business. But the procedure can be quite intense if you are not guided. So you need a legal practitioner. And you can do it anywhere from anywhere because it's online, it's digitized.
Wow. It's good to know. Okay, so the whole process, how long does it take? If I'm doing it online, is it something that I can just finish? Or if I have to go to the CAC office, does it take a long period of time?
Okay, well, the period of time it takes is quite dependent on the kind of business that you're registering. For instance, if you're doing a business name, the first thing that we actually do is we do a name search for the kind of name that you want to. We have to search and reserve the name, which is called reservation of name, so that we're sure that the name is not already being taken by another company that is existing. So we do that name search. It usually takes from 24 to 48 hours, really. It doesn't really take long if the name is available. So once we reserve, then and everything, all your documents are intact and we're able to file to the CAC portal online, it doesn't take long. Between 4 days to 1 week,
you should be registered.
It should be registered, unless there's a problem. Yes, from experience, 4 days to 1 week after the name has been reserved. Yes, sometimes it could be earlier, it could be faster, but this is just like an average estimation. So it doesn't take long. It's digitized. Yeah.
So after all being said, you know that some people will be like, I should register my company. I will not register. After all, if I don't register, what will happen? Is there like a penalty for those who do not register?
Well, the current CAMA, that's the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, has made provisions for those who continue in operating businesses without registering the business, like I said earlier. So there's a fine, there's even imprisonment, especially for some kinds of businesses that are more financial in nature. You're running transactions, you're carrying out the business, you're facilitating sales and all of that, and you're not registering. That's contravention. You're contravening the law. For instance, section 814 and 815 of the CAMA particularly states that you cannot continue business for more than 28 days, that's business names, without being registered. If you continue and you're caught, for instance, you're liable to a fine or imprisonment. It's just that generally, it's not like the CAC goes around pursuing who is registered
I was going to ask that.
Not.
How do you know?
Yes, they are usually caught when they start to promote certain kinds of transactions or apply for certain kinds of reliefs. Yes, or some contractual relationships, and they are asked to present something. For instance, let me give an example. A company that is that let's say wants to sell or manufacture pure water, for instance, and is trying to evade the registration process. And you remember that there are other regulatory agencies that also sanctions that operation. For instance, NAFDAC or SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria. Now, if you go ahead producing pure water, now the business is not registered, but when NAFDAC has to checkmate that activity, they'll find out that a business that is not registered has been producing pure water. And so it's like putting nothing on nothing, actually, or putting something on nothing, and so there's no result. So that's where you'll be caught, actually. Yeah.
All right. So earlier you mentioned some of the advantages of registering your company or business. Can you expatiate? Like, tell us more about that, the advantages.
Okay, well, for instance, there's something called employer status. Now, as a business, you want to be able to hire employees. You want to have a structure that accommodates for staff. You can't run the business alone, even if it's a sole proprietorship. You just have the name. You are the figurehead, but there are people that will facilitate, take care of certain departments of the business to ensure that there is a result and there's profit, because to maximize profit is the sole aim of businesses. So you need to have that employer status to hire people into your organization. Number two, you need to have that legal personality that I was saying earlier. The idea of legal personality is every business or company has to assume a status of an artificial personnel in law. That's what's called a separate legal personality from the individuals that run it. So you have companies where the directors are different from the company itself. So the company itself can sue or be sued in its corporate name. That way, although let's say my name is Goodness, I have a company, the brand is different from me. It means I will not be held liable for the debts or any incidents that my company falls into.
But the company
itself will be held liable. For instance, Dangote group of companies is different from the person Chief Aliko Dangote. So if you're suing the company itself is responsible and not the person. So if you don't have legal personality based on registration, because it's the incidence of registration that bestows that legal personality, you will now be liable for anything the business is liable for as a person. So this is one other thing. Number three, you have perpetual succession. I was saying this earlier. It means the company can run without your particular support. That means even if you die, for instance, God forbid, the business or the company can run in continuity. But if you are not registered, if anything happens to you, that's the end of the business. The end of you is the end of the business. So there are a myriad of advantages that you can actually have. Another thing is there are some kinds of relationships you want to procure, especially in the international sphere. They would really ask for a certificate. You have to show them certificate. For instance, there are also some bodies that give grants and loans. For example, the Tony Elumelu Foundation and some of these Nigerian survival, all of these schemes. They will ask for, like the current TIES by the CBN. They will ask for your certificate of incorporation to show that there's a business and there's something you're doing. So we can't give money to someone who is not doing something. He's just going to squander the money. So all of these things need to be in place so that your business can really thrive. And then I said earlier about the reputation. People have confidence. And then it gives your business a structure. You know, organizations are structured by legal requirements. When you meet the legal requirements, then you have a proper structure. You have a system that people can depend on. People can apply to be employed. People can invest. It attracts investors to sponsors, partners. People can pull in their resources. They can plunge in their resources because they know that this business is existing. And if anything happens to the proprietor of the business, I can still hold the business responsible. I can still get a reconciliation from the business. I can be paid off by the business and not by the person. So there are lots of reasons why you have to register. So to proceed in operating on registered businesses, no. The merits far outweigh the merits.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this conversation is really engaging, and I wish we can continue, but somehow. And then, you know, when you were speaking, you kept talking about get a legal practitioner, and I'm like, Nigeria's legal practitioner, money. You want our money to go up. So what I want to ask is, how important is it for a business? I think actually, as people, we're supposed to have legal people like backing us in everything we do, so that when you fall into trouble, you have someone to, you know, run to and the person defends you. But now we're talking business. How important is it for every business to have a legal face, a legal practitioner?
Okay, now this is one of the most important things I'm going to say because it touches on my line of profession. Now, from experience, I've had to intervene in certain businesses and individuals when they come at problems, which is why the general statement, when they see that you're a lawyer, they say, I'll go and look for trouble. Why? Because they feel that lawyers come in when there's trouble. And sadly, that's a reverse engineered system. No, you should not only get into trouble before lawyers should come in. Lawyers should come in order to prevent the troubles before they occur. So you need a lawyer from the get-go, from the starting of a business. Why? I've had to entertain calls and somebody is just querying, complaining, like a lot of calls in the line of business. And every time is that somebody was not properly guided, was not properly instructed. If you knew this better, many of them say, oh, I wish you called me earlier. I wish you called me before you took this decision, before you signed this document. So you need a legal practitioner to be able to give you that guidance. You really do not know many things just by yourself. This is something we were trained for 6, 7, 8 years and more. We were really trained for this. So aside collecting your money, except you don't want to pay, aside collecting your money, you need, it's like having a family doctor. So it's not just when your children have a medical issue before you are running health scatter. You have a family doctor that can put you on a diet, that can help you from having those medical problems. So have a lawyer that will be able to give you good guidance. Guidance is the first very important thing that you get to achieve by having a legal practitioner who is overseeing your business or your property or whatever, or transactions. Then when you have documents, before you sign them, like yesterday, I just got a call yesterday from someone. He wants to sign the document, but he needs counsel. That's a good thing. Before you sign or commit yourself to transactions, to commercial businesses, get the counsel of a lawyer. Have a lawyer interpret the documents, because many times there are many things said behind the lines and not just face off. You just read it and you just sign it. You need to have a lawyer interpret. A solicitor's interpretation of contractual documents is quintessential for the success of your business. You need that solicitor to give you the tidbits, to help you understand these are the lines, this is what it means, this is where your liabilities are. This is essentially why you need that, to know your duties, to know your rights, then to know your liabilities. That's where you have problems. If you don't know your liabilities, when a problem occurs, then you now have to spend more. You're actually going to spend more in attending to a case or a suit, or to come out of a problem. So why not just have a lawyer, have someone who gets to give you the guidance before you do some of these things. From the get-go, from the starting of a business, you need a solicitor to give you the proper guidance. So it's very important.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we've been conversing with Barrister Goodness Ajinomo. Thank you for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
And your thoughts are so on point. Thank you so much for enlightening us.
It's a pleasure. Don't hesitate to call me for any of your legal jobs.
Okay, it's all right.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Good Morning Abuja continues shortly after this time out. Please stay with us.